And welcome to another video by myself, Chris from Sorare on a Budget. Tonight I'm going to be taking a look at part 2 of the Turkish League review. In the first video, which went up about a week and a half ago, I covered the first 10 teams alphabetically in the Turkish League. So guess what? Second part of them all just now. So it's going to be a club-by-club look, exactly the same as part 1. A few players from each team worth having a look at. It's kind of covering all budgets. There are some lower-end players. There's quite a few higher-end players. Because the Turkish players are so limited in numbers, in terms of the how many rare cards have been produced, some of the prices are quite high. There's also some really high-performing players there as well. So, in terms of finding some more information for the Turkish League, I'd suggest that you follow at Sorare_Turkey for the latest game information, match previews, suspension and injury news, that kind of thing. Well worth a follow. And in terms of for myself, if you're new to the channel and you've not yet subscribed, please do so. Just click the subscribe button below. The channel is rapidly approaching the 1,000 follows, which would just be epic if I could get there in the first couple of weeks in January. As I said in the last night's video, it does help. Well, it will help me to start generating some revenue from the channel. It will still be free for everybody, but it just means that YouTube will start to pay for the number of views that we get, which would be awesome. If you're new to Sorare and new to the channel, welcome to the channel. If you want to sign up to Sorare, you can do so on the link on the screen. It'll be in the description below, sorareonabudget.com. That'll take you to the Sorare website. Because you followed the link, you'll get 10 free common cards, which you can use in the casual league, and you get 1 free card when you join, when you sign 5 from the new card auctions. So, without further ado, I'm going to crack on because I've got 10 teams to get through, 30 players to talk about. I've got my trusty notepad here, so I will crack right through this as quickly as we can. So the first team that we're going to look at, and I'm going to butcher names, I'm going to butcher club names, I'm going to butcher player names. I know it's always a highlight for some that my pronunciation of some of these names is pretty wild, but we'll give it a go. So we've got Giresunspor. They're currently 14th in the league, newly promoted, finished second last season in the second tier. So they've, it's kind of lower mid-table. Not entirely clear of the bottom 4, but they are, in a pretty good standing just now. So let's have a wee look at the players I've got here. So I've got a selection. I've got a defender, midfielder, and a forward here. So defensive-wise, the first one I've got up is Mamadou Diarra. 3-day average of 0.127. Now you'll see the 3 prices here are quite high if you're working on a low-end budget. If you've been fortunate enough to be trading up, you could probably look at some of these players. So we've got a last 5 average of 53 and a last 15 of 55. Pretty decent from a centre back. Quite a high price point for that though. So again, with any of these players, it's worth having a look at them, but then you can maybe consider players that are similar. If you use Sorare data, you can use the similar players option and maybe find something else that might suit you a little bit better. But the next one I've got, Sergino, midfielder, Brazilian midfielder. Last 3-day average is 0.092. Now his last 5 average is pretty poor at 42, but his last 15 was 49. He is playing as a left winger, and that sometimes contributes to lower scores. But that's, it's not always the case, because the other lad that I've got from the club is actually on loan from Krasnodar. I should have kind of covered off some of the other stats on the players. I'll quickly do that as well. But Shapi Suleimanov, 3-day average price of 0.164. When I looked at him about 2 or 3 weeks ago, he was down at 0.11. So he has gone up quite considerably, but his average score for the last 5 is 62, and last 15 of 51. So he's had 88% starts. He's played every game since he joined the club. He joined from Krasnodar, so he missed the first 2 games, I think it was. He's got 1 goal and 3 assists, which is pretty decent. Sergino's played 100% of the games from the start, 93% of minutes, and 2 goals. As I say, primarily being a winger. And Diarra, he missed the first 3 games of the season. He's had 15 starts and 1 sub, and he's got 1 goal to his name as well. So not a bad wee return. As I say, it's some of the prices are quite high, but for a forward under 23, getting very decent scores, that's quite a reasonable price. When you compare it to other things, when you factor in how much that is in pounds, I mean it's not kicking the backside off of about 475 or 470 just now. So that is a lot of money to tie up in one card. But as I say, you've got a lot of utility with that in terms of the under 23 and obviously, being a forward and getting some decent scores there. So then we've got Gostepe, and we've got a current league position of 19th, so they're second bottom at the moment, but last season they finished 10th, bang mid-table. So they've got a wee bit of work to do to get themselves out of trouble, but they do have some players that are worth having a look at, and I'm going to run through those. So we've got Sonar Idogdu, 84% starts, 82% of minutes, 1 goal, 2 assists. On loan from Basak Sehir. He's only missed 1 game, which was an injury game. 3-day average 0.01. And as you can see, in the last 5 of 59, which is very good. Plays as centre midfield. Then we've got Dino Arslan. Oh, goodness me. Come on, Chris. It's late at night. I'm recording this at 11 p.m. It's going to be going up midday the following day, but yeah, bear with me. Dino Arslanic. There are some older cards of him in the game. I think it's from, I want to say it's from Ghent. It's from one of the Belgian clubs anyway. He's a centre-back. His last 5 average are quite low, which is reflected in, much lower price than some. 0.06 is his price. I have actually had a look at him before, and his price was a good bit higher. Last 15 of 46, that says there. He's 89% starts, 86% of minutes. He's missed 1 game through suspension and 1 game through injury. The suspension threshold for yellow cards is only 4 in the Turkish league. So you do find quite a few players have had suspensions due to that. He has had 2 goals as well, which, again, from a centre-back, pretty decent. Then we've got Atinç Nukan. Plays another centre back here, 0.067. Last 5 of 55 though, and the last 15 of 52. He's played 63% of the starts and minutes as well. As he actually, when he's played 90 minutes each time. 1 goal. He missed 6 games early on where he was on the bench and didn't come on. I don't know the reasoning for that. I couldn't really find much in the way of information regarding that. But ever since then, he's been an ever-present. So I feel quite confident, in terms of putting him into the, into the squads or anything like that, that he looks pretty solid now. And when you see the scores and the return from him, pretty decent. Then we're looking at Hatayspor. They're currently 5th. Last season they were 6th, so they're having a pretty solid run of things. A club that I wasn't terribly familiar with, to be honest. Had a look through some of their players, and again, it's a mixed bag in terms of prices. First one I've got is Mamediev. He has had 95% starts, 94% minutes. He's only missed 1 game through suspension. He has had 7 yellow cards, which remind me a little bit of my Farmer Diedu that I had. Loved the yellow card. There seems to be a lot of yellow cards in the Turkish league. So that's kind of one thing to bear in mind. He has had 7 goals and 2 assists. The reason I've put him in here is when you're looking at a starting striker, getting a return of, there's 9 decisives that he would have had to his name. So sometimes those you have to pay a little bit more for. He is the captain, so that's reflected. I mean, he's basically missed 1 game all season, and it was due to the suspension. Now, 1 more yellow is going to trigger another suspension, which would be something to bear in mind. You might want to look for when that suspension happens and see if you can then pick him up, because he'll show us a DNP, and we all know that people freak out when they see DNPs. Next one, Bearcat Auction. Last 3-day average of 0.07, so a little bit lower. Average score, again, not the highest. Last 5 of 45, but again, if you're going on a threshold, that's kind of what you're needing to get to at least the minimum. Last 15 of 47. As I say, plays as a centre back. 84% of starts, 83% minutes. He's got an assist. and he missed 2 games where he was on the bench and didn't come on. So the fixtures have been coming thick and fast. So some of the guys have missed games recently where they've maybe had, you know, a weekend, midweek, and then weekend games. So there has been a little bit of rotation. I have noticed that. It cost me a couple of DMPs at the weekend there. But yeah, it does seem to happen. But I mean, when you're talking, you know, 3 fixtures in 7 days, you are going to get rotation. So best thing I can suggest doing is keeping an eye on the likes of Sorare Turkey's site or page, sorry, and watching for the news for the games. Then we've got Ruben Ribeiro, 95% starts, 88% minutes. He's only missed 1 game, shock, suspension. 4 yellows he's had, 2 goals, 1 assist. Last 5 of 53 and last 15 of 59, which is pretty decent. Reflected in the price, 0.132, so it is a little bit higher. There are a lot of 32 to say 34-year-old players in the Turkish leagues that have some really good scores. And it hasn't affected their prices, because a lot of the other leagues where you see higher ages, you see lower prices reflected from them, but you're not really seeing that here. And I think that might be to do with, you know, a more scarcity of the cards, because there is only 15, 16 of a card. So if you're looking at somebody and they're getting last 15 of 59, then, you know, they're going to have a premium attached to them at the moment. Then we have Basak Shahir, currently 3rd in the league. Again, I'm probably butchering these names, so I wholeheartedly apologise to any supporters of these clubs or the players involved when I butcher their names. Last season they were 12th, so kind of just about mid-table last season, but this year, you know, they're up at the top end. And they've got some really good players. Stefan Okaka, sorry, moved from Italy. I think it was Udinese he was at. So he has got old cards in the game there as well, which has helped his price, because he's the 2nd top goal scorer in the league. He's got 9 goals. He's also got 2 assists. Started every single game. He's played 98% of the minutes. He's got 3 yellow cards. So he's got 1 game, 1 yellow card away from a suspension. But if you look at those scores, 58 for the last 5. It is actually 100%. That's a kind of a typo there. So ignore that 80% there. It's actually 100. And last 15 of 56. So again, playing as an out-and-out striker. So you're talking about, you know, 2nd top goal scorer in the league, 11 decisives. So you are going to pay a premium for that. And if you can afford it, you know, it's a cracking card to have. It was one that I looked at, and I plumped for a cheaper option, which gave me a chance to, you know, buy an extra player as well. That we'll see if I made the right decision on that one. I may well have boobed on that one, so it might be something I'll look back at and see if I can pick them up in the coming weeks. Next one I've got is Bearcat Auction. 3-day average 0.109. Last 5 of 47, last 15 of 49. Centre midfielder, a bit higher in terms of the scores, 89, 2 goals, 1 assist. He's played in every single game. He hasn't missed the game. He has been a sub twice, so that's worth having a look at. As to, again, it might be congestion. He's an under 23 card, so that probably reflects in the price, to be honest, in terms of his consistency. Then we've got Mahmut Tekdemir. Last 5 of 54 and a last 15 of 50. He has been, you know, he's their captain. Again, another 33-year-old. He has 2 goals to his name. He missed 3 games at the start of the season where he was on the bench and didn't come on. So that's where those, you know, the difference between where his starts are. It was 84% starts. So he missed 3 games, and he was on the bench and didn't come on. But he is their captain, so he's played ever since. So that's worth having a look at. Sorry, my phone's vibrating at the side of me here. Kasim Pasa, our next club. So they are currently 18th in the league. So they're in the bottom 4 and danger of relegation at the moment. Last season, they finished 14th. The man in the picture, Ryan Donk, I've been delighted to have picked him up. There's no truth to the rumour that I'm signing his contract at the club. It's, you know, but it is with Kasim Pasa. So he was the first card to put in there. The reason being, he's got 1 goal, 1 assist in his last 2 games. So he's had a 90 and a 91. So he did have a decisive, but then he's also had an all-round score of 30 in one of the games and 31 in the other. So very solid for a team that are at the bottom end of the table for, you know, picking up those sort of numbers. 3-day average of 0.056. Last 5 is 62 and last 15 of 52. So he's pretty solid there. He's missed 2 games since he joined. So he did miss the first few games of the season, which is reflected in the percentages. 76% starts, 74% of minutes. So when he's on, he's on. He's not tending to come off. Valentin Asceric was the next one. I did look at him a couple of weeks ago before his form dropped off. His price was a wee bit higher. So 3-day average of 0.059 and last 5 of 45. So if you look at that, I've sort of left 0.058. When you're looking at that price compared to, you know, his scores, that's a bit more reasonable. Last 15 of 46. Attacking midfielder. He has started 68% of the games and 65% of minutes, 1 goal, 4 assists. Now he's had a red card and 6 yellows. So he's actually had a single game suspension for the 4 yellows and he got a 2-game suspension for his red. So he's missed 3 games through suspension. So that's to bear in mind as well. He obviously likes to, you know, live on the edge, or the referees are just card happy. You can kind of see it right across the board. Our last one from here is Haris Hajradinovic. I might just say, you know, this guy, point, you know, the third one on the right. 74% starts, 75% of minutes, 1 goal, 1 assist, 4 substitute appearances, and he's only missed 1 game this season, and that was through suspension. Shock. Last 5 of 48, that says, and last 15 of 42. So he is starting to bring that average up. 0.064. Plays as an attacking midfielder as well. So halfway decent numbers. That's 2 players. Actually, there's 3 players there that if you're working on a lower end budget as it stands, that you could pick up. And if you look at the last 5 averages and take that across the board, what would that be? 62 and 93. You're looking at what, 155 from 3 cards. You got 1 more card plus your goalkeeper. You could be looking easily at the thresholds from that. So yeah, a couple of players worth having a look at on the lower end of things there. So then we've got Giresunspor, currently 13th in the league. Last season they were 17th, so they just escaped relegation last season, but this year, you know, they're sitting just below mid-table. However, they do have a couple of really good players and 1 exceptional player. So we're going to look at Owner Bullet first. 79% starts, 76% minutes, 1 goal, 4 assists, 3 substitute appearances and 1 suspension. 3-day average of 0.123. Last 5 of 62 and last 15 of 51. Plays as a right back. Yeah, I mean, those are really good numbers, to be fair, especially the last 5 average. It's reflected in his price just now, so you may want to have an eye, you know, keep an eye on the prices and averages and see when it comes down a little bit and see if you can swoop in. Gustavo Campanaro is the next one, another Brazilian midfielder. 3-day average of 0.107. If you look at the scores, that seems awful high for that. What I've really done with a lot of these ones is tried to find the players that have played 100% or as close to 100% the last 5, and I've maybe only missed a game or so in the last 15. Campanaro did miss the first 8 games of the season with a knee injury, but he's been ever present since. So he's only played 47% of the games this season as a starter. So that kind of, you know, is something worth having a look at and bearing in mind. Defensive midfielder, so it's probably going to be one of those players that's consistently about that 45 to 50 without, you know, anything too spectacular. Now, I mentioned Okaka as being one of the targets when I was looking for a striker. Mama Tiam was the other one, and he plays as a left winger, but he is the top player in the league in terms of goals and assists. He's got 13 all told. He's got 9 goals and 4 assists. But in the last 5 games, he's got 5 goals and 2 assists, which you can see he's got a last 5 of 70, last 15 of 59. So that's a player that is, you know, on form. 94% starts, 93% of minutes. So when he's on the park, he's, you know, he's in and around the goals. especially recently. So that's his price was quite high. He does have some older cards which were from Fenerbahce. However, all of his cards were sitting at a very high price. So that was, I did offer a couple of, as close to as I could afford to. I chucked in a player or whatever, but didn't get a deal done. And again, I opted for one that cost me half the price, but hasn't got half the goals. So you get what you pay for sometimes. And that's a card that's, if you've got a lot of spare ETH, that's one to have a look at. Konyaspor are our next team. I think I've got 4 teams left. I'm fairly rattling through these, but I'm conscious that I don't want people watching videos for hours. Konyaspor, second in the league just now. Last season, mid-table. So they're, would you call them a surprise package maybe? Going from 11th up to 2nd. We're halfway through the season, so they're sitting pretty just now. 3 players I've picked out here. We have got Zajmar Betiki. 7-day average of 0.117, higher, lower average for a higher price. Again, some of the players, when you are looking at the clubs, it is kind of tricky. You are going to have to play a balancing act. Last 5 of 45, last 15 of 43. Again, he plays on the left wing, so that often reflects if he's not going to get assists, invariably they're not particularly involved. He's only missed 1 game through injury. He's got 1 goal and 3 assists to his name this season. Then we've got Sonar Dickman, or Dykeman maybe, Dickman, I don't know. 84% minutes, 84% starts, 74% minutes. He's played in every game. A couple of those, that must be 3 that he's coming as a substitute. 2 goals, 1 assist, played in the centre midfield. Relatively solid numbers, 51 of the last 5, 0.077. And then we've got Skubic, and last 3-day average of 0.097. Similar average, 51 and 49 for the last 15. Right back, I believe, if memory serves, Slovenian international. He has got 3 yellows, so that's something to be aware of. He's also got 3 assists for the season as well. Then we've got Sivaspor. Currently 12th in the league. Last season they were 5th, so they are playing below themselves at the minute. Some of these clubs, were qualifying for Europe, tend to find them maybe slightly stretched, and that could then, obviously have a knock-on effect to the league for them. So I've got a couple of cards here that are, I've got 1 card that's particularly lower, and I've got a forward card which is quite low as well. So we've got, first one, I've got Isaac Kofi. 3-day average 0.041. Last 5 of 48, last 15 of 41. Defensive midfielder. So again, probably going to be sitting in that bracket. 47% starts, so it's quite low in terms of starts, 56% of minutes. He's been a mix of substitutes and starts, but the reason I included him is he started the last 5. And that price point, plus, having started regularly recently, that could be one that you could pick up now and potentially look at, hopefully his price starting to creep up. Then we've got another international, Greek international, Dimitrios Gutas. 3-day average 0.131, quite high, but when you look at his averages, last 5 of 56, last 15 of 54. So very consistent in terms of those numbers, plus you've got international utility there as well. 89% of starts, 89% of minutes. He's got 4 goals as well. He's been a never present, apart from the first 2 games of the season, which he missed through COVID and having a quarantine. And then I've got what you would probably class as a cheap forward, Olarin Waju Coyote. 1 week average of 0.077, quite low. Last 5 of 44, last 15 of 43, relatively consistent in terms of his scores. Plays as a centre forward or as a right wing. Now, I think one of the reasons his price is a little bit cheaper, he's got 3 goals, 1 assist to his name. He missed 2 games through a red card. Again, shock horror. Referees must have a lot of paperwork to fill in. He's had 5 substitute appearances in the last 6. Now, he's come on. He's played in every one of them. I believe that he's got decisive in 2 of them. Certainly 1. But if you're looking for a forward that's always scoring you some points and you're trying to do it at a lower end, you'll know from looking at the market it's not easy. But 0.077 isn't that bad for a card that, he could then, break his way back into the team. He did start the game last week. So you could be looking at a card there that you could pick up at a decent price and potentially sell on. So worth having a wee look there. Now we're coming to the league leaders, Trabzonspor, current league position first and last season fourth. As you could probably guess by that, there are a lot of high prices at the Trabzonspor. So I've got one that's particularly high, and then I've got two which are fairly high, but they're cheaper for Trabzonspor. So I've went with one, probably the highest one I've included in any video, Andreas Cornelius, Danish international, 3-day average of 1/4 of an ETH, hell of a lot of money. Last 5 of 61. This plays a straight, an out-and-out centre forward. He's had 6 substitute appearances as well as, starting for most season, but he's got 9 goals and 2 assists. You're looking at the striker for the top of the league team who is going to get in amongst the goals. So you're going to pay a premium for that. Personally, I would probably look at other options, but I included him because he is the centre forward for the top of the league side. Bruno Perez missed a few games through injury, and that brought his price down. His 1 week average 0.097. He's returned to the team. He's played the last 4 games. Plus he was a substitute in the 5th game before that. So he came back from his injury, plays as a sub, and he started the last 4. Last 5 average of 59, despite being a substitute for one of those games. Last 15 of 55. So you're looking at somebody that's scoring very, very consistently. Plays as right back, and yeah, one that I wouldn't hesitate to pick up. I'm going to have, depending on how things go, I might look at maybe trading in and out of a couple of them. But defender for the top of the league team, they've only lost once all season, so you're looking at a fairly safe bet there. And then the last one from here is Duracan Tokus. I've actually got one of these cards. 2 week average of 0.11. Scores are fairly, 45 and 45. He missed the first 7 games through injury, so he has been working his way back from injury, but he's been an ever-present, in terms of starting every single game since bar the first game after his injury. So he started the last 8 out of 9. So not one I would hesitate to. Has had a history of injury issues. However, he does seem to have got past that in the last little while. Bit of a utility player. He was playing at right back whilst Bruno Perez was out. And then he's gone back to his midfield role. So he has got an extra bit of, utility where you could possibly get him to, have fewer DNPs because of that. And then finally, the last team, Yeni Malatyaspor. They're currently bottom of the league. Last season, they finished 15th. So they are a side that, that are kind of struggling at the bottom end of the table. But that doesn't mean they don't have players that could score you some points in the meantime and maybe offload them in a month or two. Maybe when the Austrian or the Russian leagues come back and you could offload them and buy back into those leagues. But they could definitely do you a job over the next couple of months. First one I've got, Ryan Abed, 3-day average 0.069. Last 5 of 48, last 15 of 46, plays as a centre mid. He's missed 1 game through injury, 95% starts, 92% minutes, 1 goal, 2 assists. Fairly steady, decent price. Then we've got Didier Ndong, another midfielder, centre midfield as well. Last 5 of 49, that says. Should really get my eyes tested again. Last 15 of 45, plays as a centre mid, 88% starts, 82% minutes, 1 assist to his name. He's had 1 substitute appearance, 1 suspension, 5 yellows. So he's already had another yellow after the suspension as well. Speaking of yellow cards, we have Sadiq Shift Pinar, 3-day average of 0.092. Great averages. Last 5 average of 55, last 15 of 54. As a centre back for the bottom of the league team, that's pretty good going. 83% starts, 81% minutes, 7 yellow cards. So he's had 1 suspension already and he's another yellow card away from another one. So I have rattled through that. I hope that, obviously you'll have the pause function. You could skip back, skip forward, do whatever. By no means are these the only players worth having a look at the clubs. If I was to do an in-depth one on every club, it would take me forever to do. You know, frankly, just now I really don't have the time for that. This video took started doing the slideshow this afternoon whilst I was working. Managed to do about 45 minutes on it, and then when I came home, I've done another 3 hours prepping it and another probably half hour recording it. And then the time it's going to take to post produce. So it's an awful lot of detail, an awful lot of information to put into them. So I hope it's useful. If you pick up any of these cards, drop me a message on Twitter or a DM or what have you. Let us know how they're going. So thank you for watching. If you've got any ideas for upcoming videos in the new year for 2022, I'm happy to listen, happy to see what I can accommodate. If you are new, as I said, and you made it all the way to the end of this video, you must be keen. So you can join up on the link, which is in the description below as well, sorareonabudget.com. You know the drill by now. You'll get your 10 common cards you can use in the casual league. And then when you buy 5 cards from the new card auctions, you get a free limited card, which you can sell for cash, well, ETH, withdraw it for cash, or you can use it in your SO5 leagues. Sorare on a Budget is the Twitter handle. Thank you so much to everybody that's helped and supported me through 2021, and I can't wait for 2022 already. It's going to be an exciting year. There's lots going on, and yeah, thank you so much for your time. I will speak to you all again soon. If I don't speak to you before the new year, have a lovely one, and I will catch you all on the flip side. Take care.